Maybe that was what Paul was trying to talk about. Probably it is the same thing, but there is a nuance that allows us to blame the thing of sin rather than ourselves when we are being sinful, especially if sin is simply turning away from God, going it alone. That is more often than not my definition of sin. We are a people who are exhausted. We have been through a 3-year horror story beyond anybody's wildest imaginations except for sci-fi or thriller novelists. No one could have imagined in our lifetimes that something like what we have been through has happened. We are chasing dreams that in truth are nightmares, figments of somebody else's imagination. We need Botox. We need memberships at the gym so we can look 20 to 40 years younger than we really are. We are wanting for things we don't need, except for the eyes of marketers. Tuesday and Wednesday are what? Prime Day. Everything will be on sale. Get on early. Get on every hour. Buy. Everything will be on sale to save us thousands of dollars that we don't have to spend. Except, that actually I read somewhere that most everything that will be on sale on Tuesday and Wednesday will be on sale again at the same price throughout the year. We don't need most of that stuff. We think we want it, but we really don't. We are worn out from pulling and pushing against deadlines, expectations, comparisons, and feelings that we will never, ever be enough. And sometimes even doing what we think is the right thing gets us all tied up in convoluted theological discussions that dissolve into name-calling, finger-pointing, or worse. We unfriend each other on Facebook. We block each other on Twitter. We get all defensive and angry because we don't agree with somebody's religious or political views. Sometimes those people are dear friends or family members. Sometimes they are more frightened than sure of what they really know. Nobody in this room would disagree with anything that I've said so far, correct?
Yes. Right.
Not a word. Now, listen to Jesus' words again. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me, and you will recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me, and watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn how to live freely and lightly. If Jesus has really come to save us, and I believe he has, maybe we should listen a little more carefully to what he has to say. Or maybe we should pay more attention to what he does and imitate him. How might we walk with him or work with him? If Jesus is to save us, then there is a part for us to play. Those words today are an invitation. Come along with me, work with me. If you're out at sea and somebody throws you a life ring, you have to do your best to grab hold of it and hang on. Otherwise, it just gets pulled in and they throw it out again. If you're struggling with what to do next, it makes sense to talk it over with someone. We know this. We all know this, but we often don't do it. We choose not to work with Jesus until we're in a foxhole and truly desperate, and we're crying out for being saved. But choosing not to work with Jesus, that's sin. That's sin. Nowhere does anything Jesus offers us imply that we are not intimately involved in the process of salvation. Think about that for a minute. Nowhere does anything Jesus offers imply that we are not intimately involved in the process of salvation, or anything in life for that matter. If Jesus is saying, work with me, it's because he wants us to learn to be more like him. If we are paired with him, whether it be a task or in pulling together for something, it always makes life easier and better. The word disciple means something more like apprentice than pupil. We learn on the job from someone more qualified than we are, not necessarily from the internet or YouTube videos. That can help, but it's not the same. It's not the same as having somebody at your side, showing you the ropes, showing you which buttons to push, which things to say, which way to go. Keep company with me, says Jesus, and learn how to really live. Some of you know that I love giant bubble blowing. I did it at the North Bend Farmers Market several years ago, and a ton of kids ran up all along in the grassy area. It was a lot of fun. A couple of months ago, I saw a video, can't remember where it was, of a guy who had a multi-looped wand. Oh, wow. Absolutely awesome. It made hundreds of bubbles all at the same time, with the guy just kind of going like this, back and forth. It's awesome. I showed it to my grandkids, and they were like, oh, that's cool. I found kind of a wand like it, and I got it for my grandsons. And on Friday, when they were over, we blew bubbles in the backyard. And they were awesome. After I did it a couple of times and showed them how, they both went at it with abandon. They came up with ways, when we were working together, to make bubbles inside bubbles. And more things than that. It was amazing. We had fun. We laughed. Lauren took pictures for the calendar. We enjoyed each other. We rested. And we made memories. That's a simple thing. Because it doesn't always have to be the hardest thing you've ever done. To do something, to teach somebody, to share with somebody. It actually makes the harder things easier. We have had and continue to have, even this morning, a number of people who desperately need our prayers today. Have all week, the last 2-3 weeks. If you wanted, you could learn to pray by reading a book or watching something on YouTube. I don't know that I've ever done that, but I suppose it's possible. There are thousands and thousands of choices out there for you to do this all by selfie. And you can. But the disciples, being good apprentices, asked Jesus how to pray. They said, Lord, teach us to pray. And he taught them words we still use today. They spent hours and days with him, learning and watching. It's not just about reading or reciting a bunch of words, but often carrying the burden of our own or someone else's broken heart or illness or difficult decision. Our prayers join with God's prayers, and God does pray, I believe. And we help carry our friends through tough times. It matters to them. It matters to us. It matters to God. And while it may not always cure something, it always definitely heals something. And I think it heals us all. Jesus is a great role model. He teaches, he heals, he prays. And if you go back and look at this reading again, he actually even parties. He parties so hard that the people that don't like him call him a drunk, a glutton, and still he parties. And when he is exhausted, he goes off to restore his soul. He sits in nature. He walks and prays with and to his Father. Our salvation is wrapped up in discipleship or apprenticeship. Think of your best teacher. Think of your best, most favorite teacher. It was probably somebody you respected and loved, and they challenged you to learn things you didn't think you could ever learn. But you did learn because they showed you how. They walked you through it again and again until you figured it out yourself. I think the real message here is that it is not okay to go it alone. We can't, actually. So quit trying to be God. You can't be God. Do the next best thing. Partner with God in the person of Jesus. Doing so will share the task of being who you were meant to be. It will alleviate the fear that burdens you. And it will tell you that you will never be good enough, but you are good enough for God, and you are good enough for the work God has for you to do. It will also save you from the bottomless hole you have in your soul, because that always says there is never enough, and you are never enough. But you are. Every one of you are. And together, working with Jesus, we can do a lot. We can be a lot. Are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me and watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you will learn to live freely and lightly. The gospel of the Lord. Amen.